The massive screen at Earth Defense Command lit up with urgent warnings. Admiral John Smith stood at the center of the control room, his weathered face illuminated by the flashing red alerts. The energy signature at the edge of the solar system was unlike anything they had ever seen, at least officially. "Sir, the readings are off the charts," reported Lieutenant Rogers from his station. "Whatever's out there, it's big, really big." Admiral Smith allowed himself a small smile. For 30 years, they had prepared for this moment. While the public lived their lives unaware, the world's governments had worked together in secret, building defenses and developing technologies that would make humanity ready for this inevitable day. "Signal the orbital platforms to standby mode," Smith ordered, "but keep them hidden. Let's not show our cards just yet." High above Earth, hidden beneath advanced cloaking fields, thousands of defense satellites silently activated. They had been disguised as space debris, weather stations, and communication relays. Now they waited, their quantum weapons primed but invisible. The first alien ships appeared 3 hours later. They emerged from what looked like tears in space itself, massive vessels that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built, or so the Empire thought. The ships were elegant, all sweeping lines and gleaming metal, designed to inspire awe and fear in primitive civilizations. "Incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Taylor. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, in all languages." The main screen flickered to life, showing the humanoid figure. He looked almost human, except for the slight metallic sheen to his skin. His uniform was elaborate, covered in what appeared to be military decorations. "People of Earth," the figure began, his voice translated perfectly into English. "I am Commander James of the Galactic Empire. We have come to welcome you into our grand civilization. Your world has been chosen to receive the Empire's guidance and protection." Admiral Smith stepped forward. "This is Admiral John Smith of Earth Defense Command. We appreciate your offer. However, we will need time to consult with our world's leaders." Commander James's expression showed a hint of amusement. "Of course. Such consultation is standard procedure for developing worlds. However, I should inform you that all 3,000 worlds in the Empire made the wise choice to accept our leadership. The alternative would have been unfortunate." In the background, Lieutenant Rogers whispered to Taylor, 3,000 worlds. That's all. The radio signals we intercepted 20 years ago suggested at least 12,000 independent civilizations in our galaxy alone." Smith caught their conversation, and his jaw tightened. Just as they had suspected, the Empire was systematically conquering and absorbing independent worlds. "We will need 48 hours to convene our World Council," Smith replied diplomatically. "I trust you can wait that long." "Of course," Commander James smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "We are nothing if not patient with younger races. However, I should mention that our fleet's weapons are currently targeting every major population center on your world. This is merely standard protocol, you understand. We find it helps planetary leaders make the right decision." Admiral Smith maintained his poker face, but internally he was counting down. The Empire's ships were now exactly where Earth's defense strategists had predicted they would position themselves. Classic intimidation tactics, unchanged across 1,000 conquest campaigns. "Understood, Commander," Smith replied. "We will contact you once our council has convened." As the transmission ended, Smith turned to his officers. "Status of the Quantum Shield Network." "Ready and charged, sir," Taylor reported. "They have no idea it's there." "Drone swarms." "In position, hidden in the lunar shadow." Smith nodded. Humanity had spent 3 decades preparing for this moment, ever since they detected the first distress signals from other worlds falling to the Empire. They had learned, adapted, and developed technologies in secret. The Empire thought they were facing another primitive civilization. They were about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. "Send word to all commands," Smith ordered. "Operation Solar Shield is now active. But remember, we show nothing until they force our hand. Let them think we're helpless for now." As his orders were relayed, Smith looked at the tactical display showing the Empire's fleet positions. Everything was proceeding exactly as humanity had planned. The real question was, how would the Empire react when they realized their primitive conquest target had teeth? The United Nations Emergency Chamber was packed with world leaders. The massive circular room buzzed with tense conversations in dozens of languages. On the central screen, the Empire's fleet hung in space like massive dark clouds threatening a storm. Admiral Smith stood at the podium, his voice steady as he addressed the assembly. "Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've prepared for has arrived. The Empire's ultimatum is simple: join them or face destruction." Dr. Miller, Chief of Earth's Defense Research, stepped forward with a tablet in her hand. "For those who haven't been briefed, this is what we discovered 30 years ago." She played a recording, a desperate transmission from a distant world that had resisted the Empire. The alien voice was translated into English. "They consume everything. They call it protection, but it's slavery. If you receive this, prepare yourselves. The Empire cannot be trusted." The room fell silent as the recording ended. "That message changed everything," Dr. Miller continued. "It's why we created the Global Defense Initiative. While the public focused on our space stations and lunar bases, we built something far more powerful in secret." On the screen, a new image appeared: Earth surrounded by an invisible web of defensive satellites and weapons platforms. Commander Thompson of the ground forces pointed to various locations. "Every major city has underground bunkers. Our quantum shields can protect 90% of Earth's population. We are not defenseless." Just then, Lieutenant Rogers burst into the chamber. "Admiral, the Empire is broadcasting again." Commander James's face filled the screen, his metallic skin gleaming under harsh lights. "People of Earth, I trust you are discussing our generous offer. However, we've detected unusual energy readings from your lunar installations. This is most concerning." Admiral Smith stepped into view. "We are merely conducting routine power maintenance, Commander. Nothing that should worry you." James's smile turned cold. "Let me be more direct. We've conquered thousands of worlds. Some tried to resist. Would you like to see what happened to them?" The screen split to show a desert planet, its surface scarred with massive craters. "This was their capital city," James continued. "Now it's a warning to others. You have 24 hours left to decide. Choose wisely." After the transmission ended, the UN chamber erupted in heated debate. Some leaders wanted immediate surrender. Others demanded they fight back. Admiral Smith raised his hand for silence. "This is exactly what we expected. The Empire always follows the same pattern. First comes the friendly approach, then the threats, then the demonstration of power. But they've made a crucial mistake." He nodded to Dr. Miller, who brought up a new display. "Every time they've shown us their conquered worlds, our systems have been scanning and analyzing. Their weapons are powerful, yes, but we understand exactly how they work, and we've built our defenses specifically to counter them. In orbit, hidden beneath their cloaking fields, Earth's defense platforms tracked every movement of the Imperial ships. The Empire's crews were confident, relaxed, certain they faced another easy conquest. They didn't notice the swarms of microscopic drones mapping their every weakness, or the quantum field monitors recording their shield frequencies. We have something they've never faced before," Admiral Smith told the assembly. "We have 30 years of preparation. We have unity. Every nation in this room helped build our defenses. And most importantly, we have surprise." The chamber filled with determined nods. Humanity had spent 3 decades getting ready for this moment, hidden behind a carefully crafted mask of primitive technology and political division. "Send our response," the UN Secretary-General ordered. "Tell them we need the full 48 hours to decide. Let them think we're afraid and divided." As the message was transmitted, Admiral Smith watched the Imperial ships on the tactical display. In 12 hours, they would move their fleet into attack position, exactly where Earth's defense grid was strongest. The Empire thought they were tightening the noose around another helpless world. Instead, they were walking into a trap 30 years in the making. The real question was, how would the mighty Empire handle its first taste of defeat? The time had come. Admiral Smith stood in Earth Defense Command as the countdown reached 0. The Empire's deadline for Earth's surrender was about to expire, and humanity was ready to reveal its true strength. "Open a channel to the Imperial fleet," Smith ordered. His uniform was crisp, his expression confident. Behind him, dozens of operators sat at their stations, fingers hovering over controls that would activate Earth's hidden defenses. Commander James appeared on screen, looking smug. "Ah, Admiral Smith, I trust you've made the wise choice." "Indeed we have, Commander," Smith replied. "Earth has a message for the Empire." He nodded to Lieutenant Rogers, who pressed a button. Suddenly, the space around Earth came alive. Thousands of hidden defense platforms shimmered into view as their cloaking fields dropped. The quantum shield grid activated, creating a beautiful, shifting barrier of light around the planet. On the moon's dark side, massive hangars opened, revealing rows of advanced Earth warships. James's face showed shock for the first time. What is this trickery?" "Not trickery, Commander. Preparation." Smith's voice was calm. "For 30 years, we've been watching, learning, and building. Those distress signals you thought no one could hear, we heard them all. On the tactical displays, the Imperial ships were shifting positions, weapons powering up. But Earth was ready. The quantum shield easily absorbed their initial panic shots, the energy dissipating harmlessly. "Impossible," James shouted. "Your world has no spaceflight beyond primitive chemical rockets." Dr. Miller stepped forward. "That's what we wanted you to think. Those rockets, they carried our real technology, hidden in plain sight. Every satellite launch, every space station module, they all contain pieces of our defense network." To demonstrate, Smith ordered a single defense platform to fire. A beam of concentrated dark matter energy shot out, passing straight through the Imperial shields and slicing off a small antenna from one of their ships. "That was a warning shot," Smith announced. "Your shields are based on energy deflection. Ours work differently, very differently." The Empire's ships were now backing away, their formations broken. This wasn't following any of their standard conquest protocols. They had never encountered a civilization that was so thoroughly prepared for them. "Listen carefully," Smith continued. "Earth's message is simple. We choose neither submission nor war. We choose independence. You will withdraw your fleet. You will acknowledge Earth's sovereignty. And you will never threaten this planet again." James was frantically consulting with someone off-screen. Earth's sensors detected the Imperial ships trying to power up their faster-than-light drives. But they had a surprise waiting there too. "Having trouble with your engines, Commander?" Dr. Miller asked. "We've generated a localized space-time disruption field. No faster-than-light travel within 1 light hour of Earth. You'll have to leave the old-fashioned way." The expressions on the Imperial officers' faces changed from shock to fear. Their unstoppable conquest fleet was suddenly very, very stoppable. "This is outrageous," James sputtered. "No primitive world has the right to." "We are not primitive," Smith interrupted. "We simply chose to appear that way. It's amazing how much you can achieve when an enemy underestimates you." Earth's defense grid was now fully active. Drone swarms surrounded the Imperial ships, scanning and targeting every weakness. The quantum shield pulsed with power, ready to repel any attack. And in orbit, Earth's own warships emerged from their hidden bases, their designs unlike anything the Empire had seen before. "You have 1 hour to begin your withdrawal," Smith declared. "After that, we will demonstrate exactly how advanced our weapons really are. The choice is yours, Commander." As the transmission ended, Admiral Smith turned to his crew. "Send word to all commands. Operation Independence is now active. Let's show the Empire why Earth deserves to be free. The next hour would change galactic history forever. Humanity was about to teach the Empire a lesson about underestimating primitive worlds. The Empire didn't wait the full hour. Their ships opened fire after just 20 minutes, launching a massive barrage of energy weapons at Earth. Commander James had chosen to follow the standard conquest protocol: hit hard, hit fast, and crush all resistance. But Earth was ready. Quantum shields holding at 98%. Lieutenant Rogers reported calmly. Their weapons are exactly as weak as we predicted. Admiral Smith nodded. The Empire's energy weapons were powerful, but Earth had spent decades studying their signature. The quantum shields weren't just blocking the attacks, they were absorbing the energy and adding it to their power reserves. Send in the drone swarms, Smith ordered. Pattern Delta. Thousands of small dark shapes emerged from their hiding spots around the moon. Each drone was barely larger than a coffee cup, but they moved with perfect coordination. The Imperial ships tried to target them, but the drones were too small and too fast. "Sir, they're launching fighters," Taylor announced from her station. The Empire's fighter craft poured out of their hangars, sleek, arrow-shaped vessels that had terrorized countless worlds. But as they approached Earth's defenses, something strange happened. Their engines started failing. "Gravity manipulation field is working perfectly," Dr. Miller reported with a smile. "Their propulsion systems can't handle the localized distortions." On the main screen, they watched as Imperial fighters tumbled helplessly, their pilots ejecting into space where Earth's rescue pods quickly collected them. The mighty Empire's standard tactics were falling apart. "They're trying to use their main weapon," Rogers shouted. The largest Imperial ship was powering up its planet-killer cannon, a weapon that had turned dozens of resistant worlds into asteroid fields. Energy gathered at its focal point, building to a devastating blast. "Right on schedule," Smith said quietly. "Activate the mirror shields." As the Empire's ultimate weapon fired, something extraordinary happened. The enormous energy beam hit Earth's quantum shields and simply bounced back. The Imperial ship barely had time to register what was happening before its own weapon's energy struck its hull. The massive vessel didn't explode. Instead, it simply shut down, its systems overloaded by its own reflected power. "Their flagship is disabled," Taylor reported. "Other ships are falling back to defensive positions." The drone swarms had now reached the Imperial fleet. Instead of attacking, they attached themselves to the ship's hulls, interfering with their systems. One by one, Imperial vessels lost power, their supposedly superior technology proving useless against Earth's carefully planned countermeasures. Commander James's face appeared on the screen again, his metallic skin now pale with shock. How is this possible? You're supposed to be primitive." "Your mistake," Smith replied, "was believing that humanity would develop technology the same way the Empire did. You steal innovations from conquered worlds. We created our own. Your weapons haven't improved in centuries. Ours get better every year." To demonstrate his point, Smith ordered a single Earth warship to move forward. It was smaller than the Imperial vessels, but moved with incredible grace. Its hull seemed to shimmer, as if it wasn't quite solid. "That's the EDS Defender," Dr. Miller explained to the stunned Imperial commander. "Its entire structure exists partially in quantum flux. Your weapons can't hit what isn't fully in normal space." The battle was turning into a complete rout. The Empire's mighty conquest fleet was being systematically disabled by technology they couldn't even understand, let alone fight against. "Final warning," Smith announced. "Withdraw now, or we'll be forced to demonstrate our offensive capabilities. So far, we've only used our defensive systems." The Imperial ships were already turning around, their crews realizing that this primitive world had completely outmatched them. As they retreated, Earth's defense grid maintained its alert status. Everyone knew this wasn't over. The Empire would never accept defeat this easily. "Send word to all commands," Smith ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. Prepare for their reinforcements. The real battle is about to begin. 3 days after Earth's first victory, the reinforcements arrived. This time, the Empire wasn't taking any chances. The fleet that emerged from faster-than-light travel was 5 times larger than the first one. 1,600 ships, Lieutenant Rogers reported, including 3 planet killer vessels. Admiral Smith studied the tactical display calmly. The Empire's new fleet commander, Admiral West, had replaced the humiliated Commander James. West was known across the galaxy as the Empire's most ruthless military leader. "Open a channel," Smith ordered. Admiral West appeared on screen. Unlike James's flashy uniform, West wore simple black armor. His metallic skin was darker, marked with battle scars. "This is your only warning," he said without introduction. "Surrender Earth, or we will destroy everything." Smith's response was to activate Earth's newest defense system. Across the planet, massive towers emerged from hidden underground bases. Each one pointed toward space. "What are those?" West demanded. "Answer me." "Time anchors," Dr. Miller explained, stepping into view. "We've learned a lot about how your faster-than-light drives work. These towers create localized time dilation fields. Within their range, time itself fights against your ships." To demonstrate, she activated one tower. The nearest Imperial ships suddenly seemed to move in slow motion, caught in a bubble where time flowed differently. "Impossible," West shouted. "No civilization has mastered time manipulation." "No civilization in your empire, you mean," Smith corrected him. "You've spent so long conquering others that you've forgotten how to innovate. Humanity never stopped learning, never stopped pushing boundaries." The Empire's fleet launched its attack. Energy weapons, plasma torpedoes, and gravitational disruptors. Everything in their arsenal fired at once. It was enough firepower to crack a planet. But Earth was ready again. The quantum shields absorbed the energy attacks. The drone swarms intercepted the torpedoes, and the gravitational weapons simply disappeared into small, artificial black holes created by Earth's defense grid. "Launch the mirror drones," Smith ordered. New drones joined the swarm, each one carrying a special weapon. They attached themselves to Imperial ships and began copying their technology, not stealing it, but learning its weaknesses in real time. "Sir," Taylor reported excitedly, "the drones are sending data. We can now predict their attack patterns with 99% accuracy." West's face showed the first traces of fear as his mighty fleet's attacks proved useless. But he had one last trick. "Activate the dimensional shifters," he commanded. The Imperial ships began to shift between dimensions, trying to bypass Earth's defenses. It was their most advanced technology, never before used in battle. Smith actually smiled. "Dr. Miller, show them our response." Miller pressed a sequence of buttons. Suddenly, the space around Earth seemed to crystallize. Imperial ships trying to shift dimensions found themselves trapped between realities, unable to move. "Quantum crystallization," Miller explained to the stunned West. "We lock space itself into a single-dimensional state. Your ships can't shift if space won't let them." "This is beyond impossible." West's voice shook with rage and disbelief. "Your world couldn't have developed all this alone." "We did it because we had to," Smith replied. "We saw what you did to other worlds. Every transmission we intercepted, every distress call we heard, they taught us what we needed to survive. And now we're going to teach you something." Earth's defense grid powered up to full capacity. The quantum shields began to pulse with energy. The time anchor towers synchronized their fields. And in high orbit, Earth's own fleet of advanced ships moved into attack formation. "Your empire is about to learn," Smith declared, "that trying to conquer Earth was the biggest mistake in its history. This is no longer about just defending our world. We're going to free every planet you've enslaved." The real war for galactic freedom was about to begin. News of Earth's resistance spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The quantum communication network that Earth had secretly built years ago was now broadcasting the battle footage to every corner of the Empire's territory. Enslaved worlds watched in amazement as humanity's forces systematically dismantled the supposedly invincible Imperial fleet. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from dozens of conquered worlds," Lieutenant Rogers reported excitedly. "They're asking for help." Admiral Smith stood at his command station, watching as more Imperial ships arrived through faster-than-light jumps. But something was different this time. Many of the ships were firing on their own fleet. "Multiple Imperial vessels are switching sides," Taylor announced. "Their crews are refusing orders to attack Earth." On the main screen, Admiral West's face appeared, twisted with rage. "What have you done? How dare you spread rebellion through our empire?" "We didn't spread rebellion," Smith replied calmly. "We spread hope. Something you tried to crush on every world you conquered." Earth's defense grid hummed with power as it protected both the planet and the defecting Imperial ships. The quantum shields extended their coverage, saving rebel vessels from their former fleet's attacks. Dr. Miller's voice came over the command channel. "Admiral, the rebel ships are sending us their technical data. The Empire's entire command network is vulnerable." They never expected their own ships to turn against them. The battle had become chaos for the Empire. Their strict command structure was falling apart as more ships defected. Crews who had been forced to serve were now choosing freedom, the Empire's greatest weakness. Its reliance on fear and control was finally being exposed. "The invasion fleet is in disarray," Rogers reported. "They're trying to retreat, but our time anchor network is still active. They can't jump to faster-than-light speed." Admiral West's flagship launched a desperate attack, firing all weapons at once. But Earth's defenses had only grown stronger. The quantum shields didn't just block the attack. They'd redirected it, sending the energy into space in a beautiful display of light. "Listen carefully," Smith broadcast to all ships in the system. "Earth offers sanctuary to any Imperial crew who chooses freedom. You will not be punished for past actions. You will be welcomed as equals." The response was immediate. Hundreds of Imperial ships powered down their weapons. Crew members who had served the Empire out of fear were choosing a different path. Admiral West watched in horror as his fleet crumbled. "This is impossible. The Empire has ruled for 1,000 years. We cannot be defeated by a single primitive world." "You weren't defeated by our weapons," Smith replied. "You were defeated by hope. Every world you conquered, every species you enslaved, they were all waiting for a chance to be free. We just showed them it was possible." From the rebel ships came new transmissions, stories of worlds fighting back across the galaxy. The Empire's iron grip was breaking. Earth's resistance had sparked a fire that couldn't be contained. Dr. Miller's voice filled the command center again. "Admiral, the rebel ships are transmitting the Empire's defense codes. We can shut down their entire network." Smith nodded. "Do it, but target their weapons and engines only. No unnecessary casualties." Across space, Imperial ships suddenly lost power. The mighty Conquest fleet was now dead in space, their crews either choosing freedom or unable to continue fighting. Admiral West's final transmission was filled with disbelief. "You'll regret this. The Empire will never forget this betrayal." "No," Smith answered. "The galaxy will never forget that freedom is possible. Earth doesn't want to rule or conquer. We want to help every world build its own defenses, develop its own technology. The age of empires is over." As the battle ended, Earth's quantum network carried a new message to the stars. "To all worlds seeking freedom, you are not alone anymore. Earth stands ready to help." The galaxy would never be the same again. 1 year after Earth's historic stand against the Empire, the solar system had transformed. Where once there had been hidden defense platforms, now orbited busy space stations. Ships from 100 different worlds came to Earth, not as conquerors, but as allies and friends. Admiral Smith stood in the newly built Galactic Council chamber in Geneva, watching representatives from formerly enslaved worlds take their seats. The room was a marvel of architecture, with a transparent dome showing the sky above, and Earth's defense grid silently watching over everything. The latest report from the outer systems, Lieutenant Rogers said, handing him a data tablet. 3 more Imperial strongholds have surrendered. The Empire now controls less than 10% of its former territory. Smith nodded. The Empire's collapse had been faster than anyone expected. Without fear holding it together, the mighty Empire had crumbled like a house of cards. Dr. Miller approached, her face brightening with excitement. The technology sharing program is exceeding all expectations. 30 former Imperial worlds have already built their own quantum shields. 20 more are developing space-time manipulation defenses. The chamber grew quiet as the session began. The first speaker was Commander James, the same Imperial officer who had once threatened Earth. Now he wore simple civilian clothes, his metallic skin dulled by choice to show his rejection of Imperial values. 1 year ago, I came to Earth as a conqueror, James addressed the assembly. Today, I come as a humble student. Earth showed us a better way. They could have destroyed us. Instead, they offered us friendship. The next speaker was Admiral West. His dark armor was gone, replaced by the uniform of the new Free World's Defense Force. The Empire taught us that strength comes from fear. Earth taught us that true power comes from unity and innovation. Their only demand after victory was that we help others gain their freedom. Smith remembered the weeks after the battle, when Earth had revealed its most surprising weapon, forgiveness. Former Imperial officers and crews were offered new homes, new purposes. Many chose to help protect the worlds they had once threatened. The quantum communication network now reaches every known world, Taylor reported from her new station. Even the most distant colonies can call for help if needed. No one will ever be alone against oppression again. The Empire's remnants had declared Earth a forbidden zone, warning their remaining subjects to stay away. It had backfired spectacularly. Now ships secretly came from Imperial worlds every day, seeking the freedom Earth represented. "We have a new contact," Rogers announced. "A ship from the Empire's core worlds. They're requesting sanctuary." "Guide them in," Smith ordered. Every refugee was welcomed. Every defector offered a chance at a new life. Earth's defense grid, once built for war, now served as a beacon of hope. Dr. Miller's team had started teaching other worlds how to develop their own technology. "The key," she always said, "is helping them grow without making them dependent on us. We don't want to replace one empire with another." The assembly's final speaker was a young representative from a newly freed world. Earth could have become the new empire. They had the power. Instead, they became teachers, protectors, friends. They showed us that unity doesn't require uniformity. As the session ended, Smith looked out at the evening sky. Earth's defense grid sparkled faintly among the stars, but it was different now. Mixed with the defensive platforms were beacons showing safe routes for refugee ships, communication relays connecting free worlds, and research stations where scientists from 100 species worked together. "New ship crossing the Jupiter defense line," Rogers reported. "Another group of refugees. Send the usual message," Smith replied with a smile. It was the same message Earth now sent to every approaching ship. "Welcome to Sol System. You are now entering free space. Earth stands ready to help." The age of empires was over. The age of freedom had begun.